Hello, everyone. My name is John Brenneman. I'm the president here at MOAA Vacations, and today we're joined with Tim Burtch, Atlas Ocean Voyages, and we are going to talk not only about Atlas today, but we're also going to talk about our 2025 Greek Isles Signature Group cruise. Before I get into that, I always like to talk a little bit about MOAA Vacations. This next slide here actually kind of shows the four things we typically talk about when we talk about MOAA Vacations and kind of why we think that you should consider us to be your agency of choice. Service, that's kind of the reason we say that we are the official travel agency for MOAA, is the superior level of service that we provide. One of the many things that we do is we do offer travel on a satisfaction guaranteed basis. We are and continue to be the only travel agency in the country that does that, and that means exactly what it sounds like. If you have a problem either before or during your trip, you contact us and we resolve it to your satisfaction. Pricing, of course, is important. Nobody wants to pay too much. We do guarantee the lowest price. And in fact, in many instances, and Atlas is one of those partners, we actually have pricing on some select departures that are lower than you could get from another travel agency, or actually even lower than you'd get direct from Atlas. So because of MOAA and the membership of MOAA, we are eligible for these. We are offered these special pricing programs. We do have a free amenity program. We have this with almost 30 different cruise lines and tour companies. We do have an exclusive amenity with Atlas for the Greek Isles cruise, and then the group opportunities. And I'm going to talk a little bit more today about the group opportunities than I normally do, because I was lucky enough to earlier this month host or escort back-to-back MOAA Signature Groups. We had the Paris and Normandy cruises for the 80th anniversary of the landings on D-Day. So we had the entire ship on both the June 2nd to 9th sailing, and then on the June 9th through 16th sailing. And it gave me the opportunity to spend a lot of time with a little over 200 MOAA members during those 2 weeks. And it was interesting. At the start of both cruises, I basically, for lack of a better word, challenged the people on board to interact with the other members on board. So, you come on board and when you board the ship that everyone else on board is a MOAA member or the guest of a MOAA member. And what we were really wanting people to do is kind of move around each night for dinner, even if they came with other people, to get out and meet the other people on board, because that camaraderie, and we kind of talk about it a lot when we talk about these signature groups, but I really, really saw it in action 2 weeks in a row. So if you can imagine, the very first day of the cruise, you have 100+ people board the ship. And that very first evening, we kind of have a welcome reception up in the lounge. That's where I challenged everyone to kind of, mingle with everyone else. And then just over the course of the next 7 days, to literally see the bonding that was going on, not just on a surface level, but really deep bonding of people that you could tell that the friendship was going to last long, long past the 7 nights on this cruise. In fact, literally 20, 30 minutes before this webinar started, I got some feedback from somebody who was on that cruise. And I thought, thinking about what I was going to say in this meeting, I thought I would share it. So this is someone who just a couple of weeks ago got off one of these Paris and Normandy cruises. And here's what they said. Needless to say, the camaraderie was instant, sincere, and abundant among the fellow service members and their families. I couldn't overlook the elevated courtesy and consideration of the fellow guest. And it's that second line that I don't think I hit or talk about often enough when we talk about these signature groups. It's not only the camaraderie when you get on board, but it's the fact that when you step on board and everyone else who steps on board, they know that they are with fellow MOAA members, fellow service members, and the courtesy that everyone extended to all of their fellow guests was palpable. You really can, and I've cruised a number of times. I've been lucky enough to. You can really tell a difference, and it's something if you haven't experienced. We're going to talk about Greek Isles, and hopefully you can join us on Greek Isles next year. But if for whatever reason Greek Isles doesn't work, we're going to do another Atlas Ocean cruise in 2026. We have other trips that are available next year. Please do yourself a favor, at least go on one signature group. And I'm just going to warn you, they're going to be addictive because when you go, it's that camaraderie, it's that fellowship, and it's that courtesy and consideration of your fellow guests that it is just such a fun, enjoyable atmosphere for the entirety of the cruise. So with that being said, in just a second, I'm going to turn it over to Tim. Oh, sorry, I talked about that and I forgot I was going to kind of go through the signature groups. For those who aren't aware, these are kind of the unique features that are part of a signature group. In addition to myself, MOAA leadership and MOAA staff are on all of the signature groups. We try to make them as all-inclusive as possible. Tim is going to talk about that in a few minutes about the all-inclusivity of Atlas and what's included. And to kind of contrast that, we'll also talk briefly about what's not included. When we talk about the exclusive onboard events, we are working with the shore excursion provider for Atlas to put together a pre-package. Athens is a long, long ways away. It's a long flight, I guess. I'm talking time, not distance, or distance, not time. It's a long ways to go. The cruise is only 7 nights. So a lot of people want to do a 2 or 3 night pre. We are going to put those together. Those will include transfers. We hope to have a couple of options in the next month or so for that. We are also offering a back-to-back opportunity. So following our 7-night Greek Isles cruise, there is a 9-night Athens to Dubrovnik cruise that makes it a 16-night total cruise. We already have 24 people that are on that. So the capacity of Atlas is 198 people. So we already have at least 10% of that second sailing that's going to be our group. But when we talk about the exclusive onboard events, instead of talking about the pre's and post, we will have a welcome reception on board. We will have a farewell reception. And we're also working with the same people we're doing the pre-package for to put together at least 1, possibly 2 excursions that will be offered on board that will be geared towards MOAA members. So they will have some type of military related theme. Everything we do, you're invited to bring friends and family along, even on the signature groups. There are no kind of restrictions on this. I used to say that we did the Douro River, and it was the one time we had somebody bring a grandchild on board. On the second Paris and Normandy cruise, we did have a member and his spouse who brought along their daughter. So we have had a couple of teenagers that have come along. We really have no restrictions. This is your cruise, your vacation. So if there's someone, a neighbor, a family member, a relative, a friend that would make this a more enjoyable experience for you, absolutely bring them aboard. The other thing we talk about, and we just saw this, one of the things I said the very first evening is if you're not familiar with Uniworld, they have kind of a relaxed dress policy, but they kind of say no shorts, no jeans at dinner. They have a couple of nights that are a little dressier, but we have the entire ship. So the very first night I told everybody, you know, the normal rules don't apply. And if there's anything I could do while I was on board to make the cruise more enjoyable, to let me know. And sure enough, on the first cruise, I think I had somebody ask me if they could wear dress jeans to dinner, and I said absolutely yes. And then on the second cruise, we had a couple of gentlemen that one evening wore shorts to dinner. It was warm a couple of days, So whatever you're comfortable with. We're all friends or friends you just haven't met yet on these signature groups. So if you think about it, if you had a cookout or if you went out to dinner and one of your friends wore what they were comfortable wearing, nobody gives it a second thought. So just consider everybody on board this signature trip as friends. Some you haven't met yet, but they're all your friends. So act accordingly. And then, of course, the last thing we talk about is it is a rare opportunity. We used to only do 2 a year. We are doing 3 next year. So we have the Greek Isles, which is in August, and that's obviously what we're talking about today. The other 2 are in May of next year. We have a Australia New Zealand 16 night. This is a tour. You start out in Christchurch, you tour New Zealand, you then fly over to Australia, and you end up in Sydney. 16 nights, longest signature group we've ever done, but it is a long, long ways over to Australia and New Zealand. So obviously, if you're going to go that far, you're going to want to stay a little bit longer. And then we have another Uniworld cruise next year. It is Burgundy and Provence. It's not technically a signature group. It is what is called a cruise for the cause. And it basically is for the benefit of the MOAA charities, the MOAA Foundation, and the MOAA Scholarship Fund. If you're not familiar with either one of those, you can go to moa.org and learn more information. Both of them outstanding organizations that are there to support veterans and veterans' families that are in need. The cruise actually has a discount. You don't pay any more to go on the cruise for the cause. It's not a charity event. You're not going to be asked to donate while you're on board. But what ends up happening on that event would be is Uniworld makes a donation to the MOAA charities for everybody that travels. So you get a great deal. You have all of the benefits of being on a signature group, and your joining that cruise results in a donation being made to a very excellent cause. So, Tim, do we have any other slides? Nope. Well, we do. This is the Greek Isles cruise that Tim is going to talk about. So I am not going to talk about this much longer, other than to say I like this because it's a picture of the ship. And we do let people know that this is a yacht experience. This is not a cruise ship. I mean, if you've seen some of the new ships that have come out, they have, I think there's one with over 5,000 guests on board. It's literally a small city. 2 things we gain by being on the yacht. The first thing is with a maximum capacity under 200 people. It is a small enough vessel that it can go, if you look at the itinerary, it goes to a couple of the larger ports of call, the classics, Santorini and Mykonos that everyone just loves to go to. But it also allows us to go to some smaller ports that the big ships don't go to. So like when we go to Napoleon, we will probably be the only ship that goes in that day. So it's a smaller port and just the 200 of us get off. The other thing was, and we talked a lot about this when I was on these recent Uniworld ships, is the fact that the camaraderie on board a signature group isn't scalable. There is a certain point that, for example, in the 2 cruises, we had a little over 200 people. We cannot imagine a scenario where we are going to go larger than the Atlas ships, because you want to be on a ship that is small enough that you feel as though you've met everyone on board. And if we were to go to another cruise line, and there are cruise lines that have small ships as well, but even if we went to a ship that had 470, 480 passengers in a week, or even if you went 10 days, that's too many people to interact with on a daily basis. So this literally is the largest ship we will use for signature groups, at least in the foreseeable future. And I think it is, if you've gone on big ocean cruising, it is a different experience to do small ship cruising. Tim, anything else?
I believe that is it.
There you go. Okay,
It's my
so
turn.
your turn. Okay, well, I just had a couple of things that I normally say at the beginning, but I was so excited to kind of share some of my experiences on those 2 Uniworld cruises is the fact that I already kind of mentioned the fact that friends and family are invited to join you not only on a signature group, but on anything you do. We are recording this webinar. So tomorrow we will send everyone a copy of this webinar. So if you have friends or family that you would like to invite to join you on this, feel free to go ahead and just send them a copy of the webinar when you get that email. That email will have links to the website. If you haven't been to the website we'll include that again tomorrow when we send you the copy of this webinar. And the website, we may take a look at it at the very end today if we have time, but kind of go through it. But it has, I think, 8 different tabs, so it has an abundance of information. The most important 2 things are going to be the deck plan, which is going to show the cabins that are remaining. Over half the categories are already sold out, as I mentioned, I think right before we got started. There's only 27 staterooms left. And then it has the day-to-day itinerary. Obviously, just a map isn't going to tell you kind of what we're going to do every day. Tim's going to talk about Atlas. He is then going to talk specifically about this Greek Isles cruise that we're using next year for the signature group. And after he is done talking about the Greek Isles cruise, we're going to do a Q&A. We'll answer everyone's questions and get you as much information as you need. And so hopefully you can make the decision relatively soon whether or not you want to join us. So without any further ado, Tim, I'm going to turn it over to you and tell us more about Atlas.
Thank you, John. It's always a pleasure talking to you and doing business with you. It doesn't surprise me, John, when you open this up and talked about your last 2 sailings and the camaraderie and everything about MOAA. I mean, I've been dealing with you for years and years and years, and I'll stop right there. But you and your team just do a fabulous job, and I'm so much looking forward to being able to host MOAA on this fantastic cruise. So John had picked the Greek Isles, and ironically, my wife and I just recently returned as of 5 days ago, where I did a Greek Isle cruise. Similar to this, I stopped at a couple of these ports. Great timing, but I have to tell you, I've been in this business a long, long time, and I have to tell you, what we do at Atlas Ocean Voyages is so unique. And as John pointed out, this is truly a yacht experience. So I'm just going to kind of walk through a little bit about Atlas and what we're all about. But again, John, kudos to you for what you all have done, you and your team. You guys are pretty amazing. So again, we are an intimate yachting expedition company. And keep in mind that when I say expedition company, we do polar expeditions, we do Epicurean expeditions, which is the one that you'll be going on, and we do cultural expeditions. I'll get into a little bit of that. I'll just kind of glaze over that. But basically, I want to talk a little bit about the vessel that you'll be sailing on, the World Navigator, and talk obviously about the sailing that we have in 2025. And if I can just point this out, because John, you had mentioned you have 27 cabins available still. You know what? I mean, we just start promoting this, and we're talking 15 months out, I believe it is. And you know what? This is going to be good. This is going to sell out. I mean, just the amount of activity you've had. I mean, we're talking quite a ways out, but trust me, it's not too early to book, because the inventory will be gone. I'm almost confident of that fairly soon. Again, talking about Atlas Ocean Voyages, we are an expedition company. We're a transformative journey. If you want to explain what an expedition company is with a purpose, particularly of in-depth exploration. But the one thing I just want to point out on this slide is certainly we're educational, we're immersive, and it's very inspiring. But there's a couple things that we mentioned in the statement above, where this truly is relaxed luxury, without a doubt. And John, you had mentioned relaxed casual on your recent cruises, and that's the way we are. That's the way we are at Atlas Ocean Voyages. But also, it's just the flexibility, the comfort of an exclusivity of a total yacht vacation. You know, we're not stuffy, very casual. It's just an awesome product. We do have 3 ships in our fleet currently. They have the Navigator, the World Traveler, and the World Voyager. And the beauty of what we do at Atlas Ocean Voyages is we have our hardware is all identical. As what I mean by that is every single one of the ships. So once you sail on the Navigator, hopefully if we do another one in 26, you'll maybe sail on the Traveler or the Voyager. They're all identical. So that's the one nice thing about what we do at Atlas Ocean Voyages. Just to kind of give you an idea as to where we sail, we have some great itineraries, you know, Greenland, the Arctic, Northern Europe, the Med, Patagonia, and of course, Antarctica is one of our biggest destinations. We spend about 5.5 months in Antarctica over the winter months. And as I mentioned earlier, yes, we are a year-round expedition company where the polar focuses primarily on Antarctica, Arctic, the Falklands, Greenland. Epicurean, again, which is what you're on, is the Mediterranean. Culinary, and I have to tell you, I've been on my ships where I've gone to Antarctica. So I've done the polar expeditions, I've done the cultural expeditions in Northern Europe, and I recently did the Mediterranean. And the Epicurean expedition was absolutely awesome. I'll talk a little bit about what we do differently. And then, of course, we have the cultural expedition. So we're pretty well-rounded throughout the year. Just to kind of give you an idea as to, you know, we're very, very destination focused. And John alluded to this a little bit earlier. You know, the beauty of our vessels is we have the ability to traverse through waters. I mean, get close to land. Typically, we'll actually dock. We have intimate, beautiful, beautiful yachts. They're just absolutely fantastic. And our service level on board is second to none. You know, it's almost a 1-to-1 guest to staff ratio. And I will tell you, having been in this business for 31 years, our staff are incredible. You know, I can offer beautiful ships, great destinations, great culinary program, all of that. But at the end of the day, if my service level is not good, you're not going to come back. And I got to tell you, in the short time we've been doing this, about 2.5 years, the loyalty and the repeat that we're getting from our guests is amazing. And it boils down to our deliverables. And I always have to give credit to our service on board. They are fantastic. Another great thing about Atlas Ocean Voyages is pretty much everything is included. You know, cultural immersions are included. We have open bars and lounges, unlimited beverages, fine wines. You know, we do an afternoon high tea every day. In the Dome Lounge, specialty coffees, you know, L'Occitane bath amenities, which is very, very rare for a cruise company to do. With, of course, prepaid gratuities, which is awesome. If you're so fortunate enough to sail in a suite with us, we do have butler service. But at the end of the day, it's pretty much all inclusive. You're gonna pay a little bit for our L'Occitane spa and maybe a couple of excursions, but at the end of the day, it's all inclusive. When you look at the Epicurean side of things, I'm going to focus on that simply because this is what you're going to experience. But it's truly a culinary experience, both ashore and also on land. We do special tastings, you know, and then we have the Jasper Grill, which is 7 aft. It's an outdoor restaurant. It's on deck 7 aft, which appropriately named as 7 aft grill. Great experience. It seats 18 guests, and you do have to make reservations for it, but there's no upcharge. So we don't have any upcharges in our dining rooms. We do culinary presentations, wine tastings, cooking demonstrations. You know, I was part of, on the last cruise I was on just a couple of weeks ago, the chef that we have, Chef Ippy, he's actually out of Hawaii. Amazing guy, amazing chef. I mean, he used to go up, he actually went up against Bobby Flay in a couple times. So they just do these awesome, awesome presentations. And quite honestly, we get our guests involved in that, which is a lot of fun. So they'll pick certain guests out, and you actually would get involved in doing a taste cook-off, if you will. Of course, we have free backpacks when you're enjoying your cruise, and obviously some of the water toys that we have on board. So let me just talk briefly about the World Navigator. Beautiful, beautiful ship. This was our first vessel that we built about a little over 3 years ago, and she's just gorgeous. Beautiful lines. Only 10,000 gross registered tons. We can take up to 198 guests. Typically, though, we sail with about between 188 to 190 in warm water destinations. Now, when we're in the polar regions, we ratchet it down to about 175 guests because we bring on a team of expedition leaders to the tune of about 14, and they take up some of the staterooms. But I'm going to walk you through a couple of the public areas and just to kind of share with you about the vessel itself. This is a schematic. Basically, it's a deck plan that we have. As you can see, really the focus is primarily on deck 6 and deck 5, and a little bit on deck 3, where we do have some cabins available where it's just a picture window, but primarily all the deck space is on deck 5 and deck 6 as it relates to our staterooms themselves. A couple of things I just want to point out. All the way forward on deck 5, you'll see it's a little yellow, it's right at the bow of the ship, and that's called Water's Edge. And I'll talk a little bit about Water's Edge, but what a fantastic area to go. You can go into Water's Edge, and it's right at the bow of the ship, 30 feet off the water. Great viewing areas. And then, of course, on the aft part of both deck 5 and deck 6, great areas to relax, have a cup of coffee, have a glass of wine in the evening, what have you. And then deck 7. Now, deck 4 is really more of the restaurant reception area, another lounge that we have. So I'll get into that in a little bit. But this basically is your sanctuary at sea. You know, we have marble bathrooms. And I have to tell you that, you know, my wife always jokes with me because I do say that these truly are the most beautiful bathrooms I've ever sailed on any ship. We have craft cocktails, sparkling wine. As I mentioned before, room service available, always available. The Nespresso coffee and Kuzmi teas, great. You wake up, you don't have to, you just get up and you can do that. Or you can go to Paula's Pantry, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. You know, you have the bathrobes, slippers, everything that you see on this slide. And I do want to point this out also. You could be in a category on deck 3 where you have just a picture window, or you could be up in the Navigator suite, and every single cabin that we have has all of these inclusions, which is pretty cool. So let me just talk briefly about the veranda. The lion's share of and as John mentioned, you know, we have limited availability, and but the B1s and B2s basically are 170 square feet, and but they do include a balcony. And again, I don't need to go through everything I just talked about, but believe me, very spacious. You know, for 2 guests, without a doubt. So you have the veranda area, and just beautiful appointments, and really nice veranda area. Now I'm going to show you the next category. I'm going to show you is our A1. Now our A1 is a little bit different. It's still 270 square feet, but if you notice, it does not have a balcony. So some guests like to have a little bit more living space inside their cabin. So what we've done is we've taken typically the 56 square feet that would be your veranda, and we basically gave you a little bit more living space. And if you notice, there's a window right at the edge of your bed. There's a button, and you push the button, and the wind goes halfway down. So it basically acts as a veranda. You could still look outside. You could still sit there. You could still take pictures. But so the thing that the A1 and A2 gets you is just a little bit more room, living space. But again, as I mentioned before, the category B1, B2, very comfortable. This was the adventure suite or adventure room that we have. This is more for, you know, it's on deck 3, and as I mentioned, it is has the picture window. And as far as the Navigator goes, this is the Atlas Lounge. This is the first place that you will visit when you board our vessel, and it's right when you get into the reception area. You'll sit down. Our staff will go over everything with you, and then they'll assist you up to your cabin. But this is you kind of just relax here, and then after your long trip. And so the Adventure Lounge is one of two main lounges that we have on board the vessel. The Dome Lounge is absolutely awesome. It's on deck 7. It's all the way forward. You have a 280-degree floor to ceiling view right at the bow. Beautiful, beautiful views. You'll find in the evening, this is a little bit more popular in the evening because we do have possibly even local entertainment, but we do have dancing and music in the Dome Lounge itself. So outside the Dome Lounge, there is an area where you can sit and you could actually, view from that area. But again, the Dome Lounge is on deck 7 all the way forward. Very, very popular and absolutely beautiful, stunning, stunning views. We do have an auditorium, and the nice thing about our auditorium is it holds all of our guests at one time if need be. You'll find that the auditorium is used a little bit more, possibly in the polar regions, because every day we typically have our expedition team that gives a morning briefing and an afternoon briefing about the polar expedition. Now, with what we do in the warm weather, we do talks with the chefs, and by that time you'll be sailing, we'll be doing some demonstrations in the auditorium. But the beauty of it is it's very comfortable. It's all the way forward. Truly wonderful. Now, our main dining room is called Porto. And again, if you notice, there's I love the windows that you have, all great viewing areas. It basically wraps around. If you look at the right-hand corner, you'll see where it goes and it just kind of wraps around the aft part of the vessel. And we can accommodate all of our guests at one time. The main dining room is casual, obviously, and it's open seating dining. Typically during breakfast and lunch, we have a great kind of a European buffet, absolutely fabulous. Or you can order off the menu for breakfast for whatever you want. And then in the evening, we tend to go with just an actual menu, but great dining, great views, and again, great service. Now, an extension to the main dining room, and you'll be able to take advantage of this because you're in warm weather destination. This is Porto Al Fresco. So this is basically an extension. As you walk to the back of the actual restaurant itself, Porto, you'll open up to this patio area where it has, I don't know, probably it can accommodate up to 50 guests. So it's outdoors. It's really very cool. It's great for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and great views when you're aft of the vessel. But it's just an extension. Obviously, when we're in the polar regions, it does not get used that often because it's quite cold sometimes. And then Paula's Pantry. Paula's Pantry is, every time I go on the vessels, I just am amazed as to how many of our guests love Paula's Pantry. This is kind of a takeout area on board. So if you get up, say you're an early riser, I'm an early riser. I get up early every morning. My favorite thing to do is to go to Paula's Pantry. It's basically a takeout. I order a specialty coffee. I might get a croissant, or I might probably even get a donut because they're all freshly made. And I'll take it and I'll go to the back of the vessel and to the aft part, and I'll just sit there on deck 5 or deck 6 and just kind of take in the scenery and enjoy my cup of coffee. Paula's Pantry is typically open from about 6:15 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. It's a great place if you're on an excursion and you come back later and maybe the dining room's closed for lunch. Go to this Paula's Pantry. If you get up, if you're going on an excursion in the morning, go to Paula's Pantry if you want to do a takeout. Just a great gathering place, but also great food and great coffee also. Very good coffee. I talked a little bit about 7 aft. This is kind of just this is a little bit of a view of 7 aft. As you can see, it's right by the pool area. Very, very nice. Great steaks, great seafood. And it's not a buffet. Basically, that's just some of the desserts that we have. But during the day, I will tell you, when you're relaxing by the pool, there is a buffet there, so you could actually have lunch up in 7 aft grill. Great destination. Of course, when you're doing all your shore excursions, taking in all your sights, you want to relax a little bit, so you can come back and do our L'Occitane spa. It's a smaller spa, but I tell you, my wife told me it's fabulous, and she does it every time she goes on. It books up quickly, so once you get on board, I would recommend that you go in. But some great things that we do, treatments and things of that nature, but very relaxing. And as I mentioned before, we're big into health and fitness. This, if you notice, the one where the yoga mats are, that's on deck 6. Typically, they'll do yoga out there, or just again relaxing. We do have a great fitness center for the size of our vessels. It's really good. And if you're really adventurous, you can go on the top deck, which is deck 8. Basically, all it is a jogging track, and 12 times around, that'll be 1 mile, equivalent to 1 mile. So just to let you know, if you're getting really adventurous. Again, the pool and the hot tubs, just kind of a different view, but a lot of activity. We have enough outdoor space. We have enough outdoor chairs. I have never, ever been on one of my vessels. This kind of relates to what John talked about earlier, about the size of the ships and smaller. And it just means so much, where a lot of times you'll get on a cruise and, the chairs are gone like within 2 hours when you wake up. That never happens. I've never seen that happen on any one of my ships. So let's talk about the itinerary that John picked out. It's a fabulous itinerary. It's a 7-night Athens round trip. And again, it's on the Navigator. Obviously, this is just a great itinerary. I love the fact that you embark in Athens and you disembark in Athens. And then if you so choose to do the back-to-back, which is an awesome itinerary in and of itself, you'll go back to Athens, and then you'll leave from Athens and then end up in Dubrovnik, which, by the way, first time I've been there, it was incredible, absolutely incredible. But this is a fantastic itinerary. The thing I love about our vessels, if you notice with the itinerary, it's fabulous, because if you notice, no sea time. If you like sea time, you'll get it at night. But the beauty of what we do at Atlas, not all the time, we have sea days, but this particular itinerary, you're in ports until 11, almost midnight, 10 o'clock, 6:30. The latest is when we leave Spetses, which is 6 o'clock in the evening. Our guests absolutely love it, because they have that option. They have that option to either have dinner in the Porto restaurant or 7F Grill, or they can go on land and experience the whole vibe of whatever destination you're at. And so we're very port intensive. And the fact that we get in there so early and leave so late, that really makes a huge difference. So Athens, I don't really need to go through talk about Athens that much, but it is an incredible destination. You've got the Parthenon, the Acropolis, just the museums, city exploration, and some fantastic restaurants. My wife and I, on our return, we also returned to Athens, and we just found a restaurant and picked it out, and it just happened to have a beautiful view of the Acropolis. That's when you go to the Plaka, which they call the Plaka, which is a main area that I would highly recommend that you visit. A lot of shops, a lot of restaurants, and it basically is adjacent to the Acropolis itself. And then we head over on Sunday, we go to Mykonos. I have to tell you, the first time I was at Mykonos was my last cruise. And I love Santorini. Love Santorini. Mykonos is incredible, absolutely incredible. Just the views, the beauty of it. It really reminded me a lot of some of the areas of Venice, quite honestly. And, they have an area in Mykonos where if you've been to Venice before, you just get lost everywhere you go. But you can always have a cup of coffee. You can always get a glass of wine whenever you get lost. So it's a beautiful destination, and you'll have a lot of time to experience it. You can do walking tours with brunch and my favorite ouzo. And then, of course, we have there's a lot of boat trips during the day. So Absolutely beautiful, beautiful destination. And then Kusadasi. I did not, on my last trip, I didn't do Kusadasi. I've done Kusadasi before. Ephesus, which is obviously a huge highlight. The Fountains of Trojan. It's again, another great destination. And again, keep in mind that you're there for the entire day. Patmos is really very, very cool. I have to say, I actually did a hike, a very picturesque, uh, beautiful St. John's. Again, a lot of art, a lot of architecture, and again, a lot of just a ton of restaurants and fine wine and things of that nature. The fishing village that they have is incredible, but just a wonderful, wonderful destination. And again, I'm repeating myself. Again, you're there all day and you can enjoy it in the evening also. Santorini, as I mentioned early on, love Santorini. I'd have to put Santorini probably and Mykonos on my two favorites. Just a fabulous destination, a great and again, the fact that we're there late is wonderful. You know, you have to do the obligatory, you know, ride the donkeys up and all that stuff. I do it one time. You know, they have catamaran rides, they have everything about it. But again, just the beauty of Santorini, and you see the blue and the white, and that just screams again all throughout Greece. So you've just got a great, great itinerary. I have not been here, but my boss has actually been here, and she raved about it. She was there last year, and there's a lot of wineries and some castles and things of that nature. Kind of I guess I could put it in such a word like a small sleepy town, if you want, if you will. But again, absolutely the beauty of it with the sea, it's really a fantastic destination. Love this tiny. This is very tiny. Love the beaches. Fantastic museum they have there. Fantastic museum. Again, just another great destination that we have. This is obviously right before you get back into Athens. And then we'll return to Athens. And again, as I mentioned before, I believe, John, I have to look at the itinerary, but I think you to look at the itinerary, but I think you get in that day, and then you can
Correct.
experience. I'm sorry.
We get in the morning of the 16th.
Yeah, morning of the 16th, right. And so you could just again experience Athens again. And for those fortunate enough to go on the additional tour, or the additional cruise, you can do that. So Athens is, as I mentioned before, great town, and you'll absolutely love it. So I do want to talk quickly again about just because of the time, but the Epicurean portion of this. I had this a little bit before, but you know, just actually it's kind of a repeat, but I just really want to focus on the Epicurean expeditions because that truly is what it's all about. And you know, if you're not into food, you're not into wine, you're still going to have a fantastic time. But my guess is that most everybody on this call is, and all of our guests are. I mentioned before that we do have a gastronomic guest that showcases a dish. They'll come on board and bring on a lot of regional specialties. What they'll do with a chef that will bring from that destination that we're at. Again, live demonstrations, and this is always open to all of our guests. We always bring a visiting vintner on board and to just do a little like a local winemaker to do wine tastings and things of that nature. And again, guess what? There's no charge for this. So no charge for any of our immersions that we do. And this is what I touched on a little bit before, but it's culinary Ironman competition. And it's typically poolside, or in the case for us, it was in the Atlas Lounge. And I just got to tell you, it was hilarious. It was great. The participation from our guests was incredible. We actually did 2 on our cruise. Just a fantastic experience, and just a wonderful, wonderful experience that we had. And then we do have free cultural immersions on this particular itinerary. We'll have at least one free cultural immersion for you to experience. This may include like sampling special cheeses or chocolates or what have you. Or again, like I said before, we have a souvenir backpack where you can bring in on your local delicacies and things of that nature. But the free cultural immersions are really fantastic. obviously, with MOAA and basically, quite honestly, we've been doing this program since our inception, where we do our military edge program up to 20% off for all of our vets. And this includes former active, reserved, or retired on board any of our vessels that we have at Atlas Ocean Voyages. Now, John has already negotiated this military program for you all. So and to address that, John had talked a little bit about the pricing, and we've been talking for a long time. And when we put this together, I mean, John, I credit him; he's a fantastic negotiator, and you will not get the prices right now that we have. Well, you will not get the prices that we have negotiated, even on the Atlas website. So again, keep that in mind. This is a fantastic cruise, a great organization, and that is kind of it. So, John, I'm going to leave this up to you.
Well, what you've got up right now is when we
These are
talk.
specials.
Pardon me?
These are the specials we gave for you,
Yeah,
other than.
that's what I was going to say.
Okay.
So if for those of you, and I know some people came in late, but at the very beginning, I was talking about the guaranteed lowest price. And I mentioned that there are, I think it was 30, 40 sailings that we have special pricing on that offers a discount above and beyond what you would be able to get elsewhere. And so I thought the easiest thing to do would be just to show some examples. There's a slide that literally shows, the sailings that we have and what the discount is. The discount varies by cabin category. So with 10 cabin categories, for example, we look at the very first one, the Scandinavia and Fjords cruise on August 10th of this year. The veranda stateroom has a discount of $1,750 per person. But that's just one cabin category that goes up and down. It's not like the higher stateroom you have is necessarily a higher discount. So it could be that the Navigator Suite has a $1,500 discount and a category AO has a $1,000 discount, and it just goes up and down. So it's kind of a difficult thing to share, go above just going, here are the sailings that we have the special pricing on, and give us a call or drop us an email and kind of let us know. Are you looking at a suite? Do you want a balcony? If you want a balcony, do you want a step out balcony, or do you want a Juliet balcony? Which, if you recall, the Juliet balconies are the ones where if you have a step out balcony, your stateroom's a little smaller because obviously that, the ship is only so wide. If you have a Juliet balcony, you don't lose that square footage for the balcony. Instead, you have a window where it goes down. It's a floor to ceiling window, and it comes down, and your window basically becomes your balcony kind of thing. Europe, Antarctica, you can kind of see just a couple of examples that we pulled out. When we send the email with the link to this webinar, we'll include a link to the Greek Isles cruise. We'll also include a link to a page that kind of shows the current sailings that we have that are discounted. This is kind of what I was talking about when I said we have a slide that kind of goes through it. So you can kind of see, I highlighted in that left-hand column the 3 sailings that I picked as example. But as you can see, the discount kind of goes up and down as you go across. And when we did this on a web page, it seemed like it would be difficult to read. You will note that these are all 2024 departures. The sailings that we have that are the additional MOAA discount, the special MOAA pricing, I guess is the terminology we typically use, are going to be closer in sailings. So kind of what some cruise lines used to do with kind of last minute deals in the cruise industry aren't, kind of day in advance. It's 3 to 4 months out, or excuse me, from 1 to 3 to 4 months out. but Atlas doesn't do really pricing, so they come to us and use us as a resource to fill the space. Part of the reason we bring this up is Atlas does have a past passenger program. This is actually what the screen looks like, where it kind of breaks stuff down by the destination, the departure date, where it kind of shows you a range of sailings where I was talking about, you know, if you want to go to Antarctica, you would call or send an email and say, I'm looking to go to Antarctica. You know, and these are a little bit further out because Antarctica is more of an expedition cruise where you see these are in November, but and then kind of say, you know, I'm looking at a suite, I'm looking at a balcony, a Juliet balcony, or just a standard stateroom, or whatever that was, and then they can go back and forth. They'll also have to check availability. Just because we have pricing on a specific cabin category doesn't mean that in the time since we put together the website that those categories have not sold out. But what I was going to talk about is the past passenger program. And so they do have past passenger discounts. Here's kind of a summary of that program. So if you were to sail in 2024, you can see the benefits that you would receive on the 2025 cruise. Now, to actually get an additional onboard credit, you need to go to 36 nights. Not that someone couldn't do that, but if you were to take advantage of those covert fares, for lack of a better word, because they're actually fares that we're not supposed to advertise, or private sale fares, or whatever terminology you want to use for it, if you were to book those, you would automatically become a purple past passenger. And then, as you can see, as you travel more and more, the benefits increase. I think most people who cruise are familiar with past passenger programs and how they work. So basically, what you'll receive tomorrow is a copy of this link to this webinar, a link to the Greek Isles website, and then a link to the web page that has the information on these covert private sale fares if you were looking to go on a cruise this year. None of those kind of covert private sale fares are for 2025 sailings, at least not yet. Not that those won't come about down the road. Other than that, we've got a little bit of time left. I do have a couple of screenshots of the website. So this is the website. We'll send you the link to. This is the homepage. As you can see, it has a number of different tabs. So basically, all the information that Tim and I have talked about today and more is available to you online. And once again, everything we're talking about, the signature group, as well as those private fares, are available to MOAA members and their guests. So let's say, and we're not going to ask Tim to go backwards, but if you recall, the top of that list had Antarctica. So let's say you want to go to Antarctica this fall, and we have that rate that is, you know, $3,000 off the rate that is on. And by the way, that pricing is taking off of Atlas's website. So when we say our rate is $69.99, because I remember the numbers from that Scandinavia one, where our rate is $69.99 for a balcony stateroom, and that's a $1,750 savings. That is actually going to Atlas's website and seeing what pricing they have on their website. And I bring that up because the travel industry is notorious for having what I almost call paper discounts, where they have a brochure rate and they offer 30, 40, 50% off that brochure rate. And they say, save 50% on this sailing. And I'm not going to name the cruise lines that do that, but I think a lot of you know who those are, who have been offering 2-for-1 pricing since their inception 17 years ago. Those aren't real discounts, because if it's 50% off a brochure rate that nobody is paying the brochure rate, and that is the same rate that every travel agency has, that you can get direct from the cruise line, then that's actually the price of the cruise. So when we talk about these discounts, we talk about them being true discounts, and the fact that if you were to contact another travel agency, if you were to go to Atlas's website and then you were to look at our pricing is lower than what you can get it someplace else. To me, that's what a discount is. A discount is not savings off a brochure rate that nobody is paying. It's savings off what other people are paying to be on the cruise you're on. If you're in a balcony stateroom and you paid $69.99, the people in that balcony right next to you, if they booked on Atlas's website, will have paid $1,750 more per person. So true discounts there. I think we have one more slide, which is the deck plan of the ship. This has not been updated since the last webinar we did, which is unfortunate because I think this one still shows 42 staterooms available. That number is now only 27 staterooms available. And I look, and at one point we had 40 some people on this website. So you can do the math. Now, I know a lot of people who are on this webinar are just watching it because they're interested. And I know a lot of people on this webinar, because I recognize some of the names are already booked on this cruise. So I'm not saying that we have 48 people on a webinar and we only have 27 cabins left, but I will echo what Tim said, is when we held this entire ship, Atlas said that they would look a year out to see if we were trending towards filling the ship. And what that number they had in mind was the ship should be 50% full on August 1st. So that way we were trending to sell out the ship. Well, we are already at 75% full. And obviously we've still got another month to go until that August 1st date. So we are trending, about 50% quicker to sell out than they anticipated when we held this ship. So, you got time. You don't have to book today. I'm not saying that, but we do have 5 of the 10 cabin categories already sold out. So if you want to go, we're going to go to the final slide in a second, which is going to show our telephone number and our web address. You give us a call, drop us an email, and start that conversation. And then I probably should have said this before I said we do have a slide coming. I talked about this before. These are the 2 itineraries that we have back to back, which takes this 7-night cruise and makes it a 16-night cruise. So the cruise ends up becoming Athens to Dubrovnik. Since you board the ship in Athens, you can actually not do a get on the ship in Athens and know that you'll end up with those 2 days in Athens on the 15th and the 16th. And then you continue on to Dubrovnik. I don't know if you guys can see this. There is only one port of call that's repeated. That's Napoleon. There is enough to do in that port that 2 days is not going to seem like an, oh, we're back here already kind of thing. It's going to be, when you go the first day, the first time you'll say, oh my goodness, there's 3 or 4 different things I want to do. I don't have to, I don't have to pare it down to 1. I can pare it down to 2. As I mentioned, okay, so we have the entire ship for that, the signature group. So that's 198 members. We already have 24 people on this August 16th to 25th cruise. So if you basically sit there and say we have 24 people out of 198 maximum, if the ship sells out, we're going to be 15-20% of the ship. And if you've ever been on a ship before where you have a group where you're 20% of the ship, you are going to see someone every single day, everywhere you go. Not only that those 24 people that are going to be on that second cruise, we talked at the very beginning about this camaraderie and meeting people and those types of things. Trust me, we're going to have an event on that first cruise where we're going to have a get-together for the people who are on both cruises. So you can meet them because you're going to know that these people at dinner you're going to be with for the next 6, 5, 4 nights, depending on what night you go to dinner with. But there's this other group of people that you've got another 2 weeks with. And so when you board this second cruise, you're going to have, it's not 24 people that you're going to meet. They're 24 people you already know. So even if you're traveling solo or you're going as just you and your traveling companion, when you go on this second cruise, you're going to board that ship already knowing 24 or more people already, which I think is just going to be phenomenal. It's the first time we've ever done a back-to-back. Most river cruises do the same itinerary over and over again. For example, I talked about Paris and Normandy. It was 7 nights round trip Paris. So if you went on the June 2nd one, there wasn't really a lot of appeal to go on the June 9th one because you'd hit the exact same ports, the exact same, the excursions, 2 weeks in a row. On this one, it's a completely different cruise. It takes a Greek Isles cruise and makes it an Eastern Mediterranean cruise. So really something you should consider. It's getting tougher and tougher, but if this is something you want to do, this I would contact us right away, only because if you've ever done a back-to-back, you're going to want the same stateroom for both sailings. It's not a huge
Correct.
hassle to move from cabin to cabin, but it's a lot easier if the day that everybody's getting off and getting on, you can just sit down and have lunch, have a cocktail or whatever, and know that you're already in your stateroom for the second sailing. Tim, were you going to add something to that?
No, well, the one thing I wanted to add was your point about this is very rare that you could have a back-to-back where, to John's point, you're really only going to one particular port, and that's it. And the rest are all different, of course, other than Athens. So
Yeah.
this is pretty unique and has a great.
Well, yeah, but the thing with Athens is I don't really say that's a port you're going to go to twice, because if
Oh,
you
yeah,
fly
that's true.
if you fly into Athens and you don't do a pre-hotel, then you transfer to the ship, and that ship departs Athens that afternoon. So when you come back to Athens, that will actually be your first day in
Yeah,
Athens,
good
where,
point.
where you
Yep,
have the
yep,
whole day to get off and do excursions and those types of things.
yep, yep, absolutely.
There you go. Okay, and then Tim, I think that's the last slide other than the contact information. There you go. All right, so we've got a lot of questions and we're already at 3. So I'm going to kind of go through these. A lot of these I already answered, but somebody did ask a question about alternative sailings. Does Atlas sail through the Corinth Canal?
Just did it, and it was amazing. Absolutely amazing. I just literally did it 2 weeks ago. The most amazing experience I've had on a cruise ship. It's incredible. You've got like 2.5 feet on either side on the port. You're looking at this canal. It's just incredible. I took a video and I did a fast video, so it takes about 45 minutes, 50 minutes to get through the Corinth Canal. It was just an incredible experience. It's just something I've never ever done before.
Gotcha.
Yes, we do.
Okay, we had a question about children on board.
Uh-huh.
I gave the answer I thought I knew, and I'll just tell you what I said. Children or infants need to be at least 12 months of age at the time of
Correct.
embarkation for Antarctica. Children must be at least 8 years of age. And then the third thing that I recall on this is guests under 18 cannot go on shore excursions without an adult. Is there anything I missed as far as kids on board?
No, that's it. I'll tell you I did an Venice to Athens cruise, and there were probably maybe on that particular cruise anywhere from 8 to maybe 12 kids, which is pretty rare. I think it's because of the time of year, and they're all like 14 plus. But you're spot on your.
Yeah, well, I think that was, and as I said, I know some people came in late, but I mentioned the fact that, signature groups are open to members and friends, and we had 2 years ago when we did the Douro River, we had a woman whose husband passed away and she wanted to go on the cruise anyway, so she brought her son. And then on the second Paris and Normandy, we had parents who brought their 13 or 14-year-old daughter on board. Once again, I talked to him the last night. She just absolutely loved it, which kind of comes back to that, that comment that I had, the testimonial, for lack of a better word, at the very beginning, where the gentleman who was on one of the Paris and Normandy cruises said it's more than just the camaraderie; it's the elevated courtesy and consideration of fellow passengers. I think the parents, or the grandparent in that case, did a good job of introducing the child or the grandchild to everybody, and I think everybody on board was very considerate of them. We had a question that came in right before I took over again, so I get a chance to answer it. Russ asked about our voyage for 2026. Russ, 2026 is not finalized yet. I think we have a date and itinerary, but where we are right now is the itinerary that we received from Atlas has not been finalized. In fact, some of the ports of call are like blanks. So you look at an itinerary and it says, here's where you're this day, and then you have a day, and it's actually what they use for space fillers. It says captain's choice. And so until we actually have the final confirmed itinerary, we're not going to share the information. I can tell you, I think when I was on board well, I don't think when I was on the Paris and Normandy ships, I mentioned it was either going to be British Isles or Norwegian fjords. I can tell you that after seeing the itineraries, we have decided on Norwegian fjords. In fact, I just got something today that was showing the dates. It's September of 2026 for Norwegian fjords. As someone who has attended a webinar, you will now receive our monthly newsletter. I know, Russ, you already get it, but to the other people who are on right now, so our next newsletter will come out early next week. It's the July edition. But since you are on that newsletter past webinar list, you get advance notice of signature groups when they come out, typically about 30 to 45 days before they're announced in Military Officer Magazine. I almost called it Retired Officer Magazine. We've been with MOAA from those of you who've been with MOAA for a long time. When we first started working with MOAA back in 1998, it was TROA, the Retired Officers Association. So I'm dating myself by misnaming the publication. But anyway, so about 30 to 45 days prior to a signature group being announced in Military Officer Magazine, everyone who's on this webinar, anyone who's been on a previous webinar, will actually receive advance notice. So as soon as we get the finalized itinerary from Atlas, we'll get that information out to everybody. Donna, more information on the back-to-back. Your best bet, Donna, would be to either call that 800 number or drop us an email. I'm not really sure what additional information you want. I will say that it's on the website. So tomorrow when you get this, what am I trying to say? This webinar, there'll be a link to the website, which does have information on the back-to-back. Basically what it will do is it'll show the itinerary, and then it also shows the pricing for all 10 cabin categories. But if you want to have a stateroom for both sailings, we need to we're holding the entire ship for the Greek Isles. We are not holding cabins on the 9-night Eastern Med cruise. So your best bet is to call or email and say, like I said, I want a suite, I want a balcony or whatever, and then they can come back to you and say, we have this stateroom. We have AO 310, which I'm not looking at the plan, so don't quote me on that. We have AO 310 available, and it's available on the second sailing, because I really think if at all possible, you're going to want to have the same cabin for both sailings, if we can. Okay. Really good present. Once I get my, okay, Russ, there you go. Okay, fantastic. Yeah, the September 2025 Uniworld cruise. Good news, I think, Russ, is after talking to MOAA, we have decided that I will most likely, oh no, that's 2025. Never mind. I was just going to say, I think I'm going to escort the September 2024 signature group. I don't know about 2025 yet. Cabin is booked and one is offered. No employment. What are the options? Ellis, an insurance question. I'm going to ask you to give me personally a call. I am licensed to sell insurance in all 50 states. That's not enough information for me to ask to answer that question on new employment being offered. What are the options? So give me a call. You can call me at that 800 number. Just ask for John Brenneman. And I promise I'm not an insurance salesman, so I'm not going to talk your head off, but I can answer your questions probably better at that time because I'll need some additional information. Oh, here's a good one for you, Tim. Is there a place on board to enjoy a cigar?
No. Well, I'll find out for you, John. There is a place I know that there's one area
Smoking area.
that we do have a smoking area. I will check. I don't believe so, but John, I'll check with you and I'll get that back to you right away.
Gotcha. Stephen, as far as I'm going to kind of rephrase your question, but a wait list, that would be a Mike Tyrell question. Mike actually is managing the inventory for this ship. So, for example, if you were to say, I would like a suite, a Journey suite, a Discovery suite, or I'd like any suite, or whatever you would like that's not available, you can call Mike. I would recommend booking something as close as possible to what you want, just so there's a fallback. But I can tell you that we do have cancellations. Typically, you don't get them this far out. So, we're talking about a cruise that's in August in 2025. I'm not going to say it never happens, but typically most cancellations will occur when final payment is due. So that would be, around that time. So December, January, maybe into February, when people are starting to realize that the majority of the payment needs to be made. That's when you see the most cancellations. Because, sometimes people will be like, I'm not sure I can go, but I'm going to wait, hopefully I get better, or hopefully there's a change in this situation, or whatever it might be. But when final payments due, that's kind of decision time, right? Now you need to pay the rest of the cruise. So, but yes, there is a wait list. I wouldn't know, and Mike would know, is when you tell him what you want to wait list for, if you're number one on that wait list, or how many people are in front of you. Let's see. Excursions. Excursions are not included. They're included on the river cruises because the excursions on river cruises are typically the choice between one or two. A couple of times there's three. And they're designed such that everybody on the ship can go on that excursion, or at least most everybody can go on it. They're mostly walking tours or biking tours, or and I just did this 2 weeks on Uniworld, so I could speak to this. Uniworld has their Uniworld motor coaches that basically follow that ship, because you're in France the entire time. So when we sail from Paris to Rouen, the bus drives from Paris to Rouen. And then when we go from Rouen down the river, the bus goes along. So it's easier to include all the excursions for a couple of reasons on river cruises. Number one, you don't have as many options. Number two, it's when you're on a river, the bus can go along with you. And then Uniworld does have what they call masterpiece collections, which are kind of more unique kind of things. I know one that a lot of people did was like a motorcycle sidecar tour that was available in a couple of different cities, Paris being one of them, where they only have, I'm going to probably get the number wrong, let's say 2024 of those available. Those are available for additional price. Ocean cruises are different. I do know some luxury cruise lines include excursions. They are not included on this. As I mentioned, we are working. There is the one excursion that's included. I know Tim talked about that. But we are working with the company that designs those excursions. If you go to the website, we do have the 2024 excursion guide there, because people have asked us in previous presentations. So not to say that 2024 is going to be identical to 2025, but if you want to get an idea of what the excursions are that are available, and what the pricing for those excursions are, when you go to the website, you can click on that protocol, or it's a brochure, so not click on it. You flip forward in the brochure till you get to that port of call alphabetically, and then you can see what excursions are available in 2024 and what the price is. I can tell you that I would probably assume the price will go up about 10%, because that's just what prices are going up. But that will give you an idea of what those excursions are and what those costs are. And so what you have is you have a pretty wide disparity of options So some are going to be considerably less expensive than others. I hope that answers your question. If you haven't been to the website yet, I'm going to repeat myself. We're going to send it to you again tomorrow. There is a tab on there that basically says the tab is named Shore Excursions. If you go there, you will see the 2024 excursion guide, and you just flip through the pages. You click and it goes through it, and you can see those.
John, if I could just if I
Yeah.
could just adjust the
Yeah.
shore excursion, typically you'll find that we do it pretty much the same, not the same, but we deviate a little bit. But if we have good shore excursions, typically the following year we'll probably do something very, very similar, if not the same. Now, if that happens to be not a good shore excursion, then we just won't do it again. But
Yeah.
typically, our shore excursions we tend to do year after year.
Gotcha. With the sole exception of I'm talking to John Bierman with Personalized Services, who does the shore excursions for Atlas, about putting together one or two unique custom excursions. So those will not be in the 2024 brochure. Those are still in the process of being designed. We're talking about options. So, and once again, I mean, they're going to be an optional excursion. So it's you decide whether or not you want to go or not. We had somebody who mentioned that cigars are a bad idea on a small ship. Smoking's a bad idea on cruise ships. If those remember, there have been a few fires. Famously, a Princess ship had a fire once. But I think if it's contained to a smoking area that is closely monitored.
I have to tell you though, John, honest to goodness, because I sat out quite a bit. I do not believe, and I probably should know this, but I do not believe that we do have cigar smoking on there. And I will tell you that it's a very contained, and there weren't every day, maybe I'd see 10 smokers. So it's and I never smelt it. So, but I'll find out.
Gotcha. Marjorie asked about air. Marjorie, pre-COVID, we had a company that we allowed us to get discounted business class air. They are no longer around. I would talk to your agent. Business class flights, possibly Mike or Steve or Lisa or whoever you talk to might be able to find a discount on business, but normal, economy air, no. I mean, we would certainly welcome it if we could. I've talked to airlines before, but literally, I mean, if you take the time to call us and go to Orbitz and Expedia and cheaptickets.com. And by the way, Expedia has bought a lot of their other competition in that. But those, those online booking engines, or you go to the airline's website, you'll notice that the pricing is pretty much what the pricing is. Really, the biggest factor on air prices is going to be how far in advance you book it and what days you travel on. If you avoid traveling on weekends, you typically can get a lower price air. So we do not have a deal with an airline, unfortunately. I'd welcome one. Rush, you mentioned earlier you knew somebody at Sea Dream. If you know somebody at an airline that's willing to offer discounts to military personnel, I'd love to talk to them. So unfortunately, no, but I'm always welcome to see. What is the email for the website? Well, MOAA's website is www.moavacations.com. If you go there, you will see the signature groups in the main part of the screen, and you can click on it. It will probably be easier just to email it to you, Stephen, rather, than try to go through it. It's a little bit long. And the problem is it's very important that the capital letters are capital and the lowercase are lowercase, which is but beyond my pay grade on IT. But when you get the email that has everything in it, it will include a link directly to the Greek Isles website. But if you'd like to see it sooner than that, moavacations.com. You will see the signature group scrolling across. I think Paris and Normandy is still on the website. You're going to see Venison Veneto, and holiday markets. If you click on any of those, it should take you to a page that shows all the signature groups, and then you can just click on the Atlas. The other thing to do would be send an email to mail@moavac, or call the 800 number, and whomever answers either the phone or replies to your email, probably easiest to email. If you send an email to, how about this? Send an email to mail@moavac.com, and whoever gets that email, if you say, I would like the URL for the Greek Isles cruise, they will email you right back with that. There you go. I talked myself into the correct answer. All right. 20 minutes over. Lots of questions. I love it. Tim, I appreciate you sticking around for the long haul.
Absolutely.
A lot of great information. We're very excited not only about this cruise, but for the cruise we're going to have in 2026, which hopefully, I've been talking to Kathy again today. Hopefully, I think she said by the end of the month. I think she means the end of July, but hopefully she means the end of June. That you guys should have those itineraries resolved. So yeah,
Yep.
once again, to go back that, we will, as soon as we have it finalized, everyone who's on today's webinar will be the first people to find out about it. So there you go.
If I can just add one thing, John.
Sure. Always.
Small yacht cruising, you can't beat it. There you go. Just can't beat it.
I love it. And you've worked for the big guys.
You're darn right. Yep. Can't beat it.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for attending today.
Thank you.
As I said, you got the 800 number, you got the email address. If you think of any questions or anything, just give us a call. Just drop us an email. We're here to help. No pressure. And then look for that email tomorrow. And I said this on the Paris and Normandy's, where people were asking if I was going to be on board the Greek Isles cruise. And my response was, if it was up to me, I would go on the Greek Isles cruise. And the great thing is, it is up to me. So I look forward to seeing everyone in Athens in August of 2020, on August 9th, 2025. I'm going on the sailing. I'm very excited about it. I hope you're excited as well, and I see you on board. And we'll talk Tim into joining us, right, Tim?
Sounds good to me.
There you go. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.